Hello, Jonny Long here with another advert for you. Now just be thankful I'm not trying to sell you ketones or subscriptions to some mental health app. Anyway, the reason I'm not here selling you any of that stuff is because I've got something much better and much cheaper, which actually helps us keep those sorts of ads at bay. We're running our $1 promotion again during this Tour de France, which means you can sign up for just $1 or £1 or €1 and access all of our articles and member-only podcasts for a month. Support independent cycling journalism. Ensure these are the only sorts of ads you hear on our podcast or see on our site. Join the movement in this little corner of the internet. Come on. You're presumably listening to this podcast of your own free will, maybe even enjoying it. Let's dare to hope. I understand if you've been on the fence about signing up for yet another subscription. So what we're trying to do is tease you into it, lure you, and once you're in and you're all warm and nice, you'll never want to leave. That's the name of this capitalist game. Don't resist it. Come on home. So visit escapecollective.com/TDF to take up this special limited time offer. $1, escapecollective.com/TDF. What else can you actually buy for $1 these days? With inflation, that dollar is just going to keep becoming worth less and less, so you might as well spend it now.
Welcome back to the Escape Collective Tour Daily Podcast, everybody. I'm Caley Fretz. I'm joined this evening, so far, by Jonny Long.
Yes, I'm here. I'm supposed to be here.
And Joshua Robinson of the Wall Street Journal.
Deeply not supposed to be here.
And also potentially by Ronan, because his flight just got canceled, and he might be back. We'll see.
I think we should check if the flight was actually cancelled, because every year at the Tour, he finds a reason to not go to his next trip or back home when he's supposed to and stay a couple more days. And he's supposed to be going to Eurobike to look at like
to this podcast.
boring things like handlebars and, I don't know, socks or whatever.
And Ronan was having a really nice time. He was enjoying himself.
He was really enjoying himself.
Yeah. And Eurobike, while fun, is probably slightly more like work.
I think it's a lot more like work than this. Yeah.
Well, fellas, we had a fantastic race today. Biniam Girmay wins his first Tour de France stage, his team's first Tour de France stage, Eritrea's first Tour de France stage. Hugely popular victory, I think. Mark Cavendish did not win his 35th stage. We'll sort of break down the sprint, I think, a little bit later. But if you want even more sprint breakdown, how the race was won was also recorded today. Dane and Cosmo, well, they break it down a heck of a lot better than we do, because we're like running around the buses and watching on phones and things like that. So if you really want the tactical breakdown, head over there. Basically, a stage where we kind of thought that we would either get the Cavendish storyline or, like, you know,
Philipsen, Groenewegen,
Arnaud Delis, Groenewegen, somebody that was basically like just not a massive story, right? Like Philipsen winning another Tour stage, great, we'll write the story, but it's not going to be huge. Instead, we get two really interesting storylines. We get Biniam Girmay winning a stage, and we get the yellow jersey changing hands off the back of a countback, a placings countback, which we will explain in just a bit, courtesy of Joe Lindsay, who just actually wrote a story about this on the site. But let's start with Binny.
Mm-hmm.
He's won a Giro stage previously, but this particular finish, actually, if on paper, I would say didn't suit him that well.
Yeah, well, the key thing maybe was there was a crash at 2.5 kilometers to go. Maybe courtesy of the fact that today was the first ever time the 5 kilometer rule has replaced the 3 kilometer rule. So maybe the 5 kilometer rule worked how the 3 kilometer rule is supposed to work. It's hard to tell. I haven't figured it out, that logic in my head. But I think I maybe saw a tweet and I was like, that sounds smart, so I'm going to say it on the podcast. But what happened then was it was a really small, chaotic sprint where you're trying to figure out who was in which jersey. Like, there was an Astana guy, like, was that Cav? It wasn't in the end. And then it was like maybe 20, 30 riders who came across the line together. No, less. I think it was like 15 in the end.
And interestingly, Intermarché actually, they screwed up their sprint, right? So they hit the front a little bit early. The actual protected sprinter today was Gerben Thiessen, and they came to this race with two sprinters, but Girmay and Thiessen are quite different. Thiessen's built like a brick shithouse, and Girmay is lithe right? Probably has about 20 kilos less than Thiessen does. But I was talking to Thiessen at the buses afterward, and he made it pretty clear that he was sitting in second wheel at like 600K to go at the exit of that last corner, and he knew it was way too early. It was way too early. He knew he was going to get swamped, so he kind of just put his head down and went anyway. He ended up in 16th, so lost a fair amount. But behind him, Girmay had already lost the lead out. He was just floating. He was surfing. And he ended up in the perfect position and came around on the right-hand side, came around Mess Peterson, squeezed through a tiny little gap between Mess Peterson and the barriers. Kudos to Mess, by the way, for not slamming that door shut, right? Reminiscent, I think, of Michael Matthews at Milan-San Remo. Like, could have moved right about 6 inches and maybe won that stage. So, kudos where kudos are due. But yeah, swung through the right-hand side and timed it perfectly, and it was sort of simultaneously an incredible team win, but almost accidentally so.
Yeah, well, and then interestingly, Dylan Groenewegen was complaining about Arnaud Delis, well, what he would have imagined, Arnaud Delis shutting the door on him, but I've only seen the replay a couple of times, but it doesn't look like anything really happened. Maybe it was like a tight gap, and Groenewegen's a big guy, but maybe he's just worried for he's seen the other end of that situation, to say, so maybe he thought otherwise. But yeah, great to see that. It's fun when you don't have the same sprinters winning all the time.
Yeah. And the obvious I guess other side of the story is all the history that's made, right? And that was mostly what the questions were about in the press conference, and mostly what the questions were about to, teammates and the rider himself. Josh, when all this happened, I saw your eyes light up because you knew that you were going to get a piece in the journal.
It was great to watch a real journalist in action, where he realized what happened was this is a story that the world needs to know about.
Well, what's so interesting is, the Tour de France in its 121-year history has had stage winners from 33 different countries. And the list of countries is really quite extraordinary. I mean, obviously you've got Belgium, France, Italy, Spain. And then you go down.
Kazakhstan.
Uzbekistan is on there.
Morocco.
I don't think Morocco is there.
I think the Moroccan guys I'm thinking of were actually French nationals.
So that's why.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, they were like immigrants or something.
South Africa?
This is like
South
50s.
Africa's there. Latvia and Lithuania are both there.
Huh. Ramanas Mensas. Or Nevadauskas.
Nevadauskas, I think, won a stage, and Rumsas definitely won a stage.
You know that tweet about how guys just love to sit around naming guys?
Yes, I did this the week before I came to the tour, and I realized that I was doing the tweet in action. It actually is one of the best feelings you can have as a man.
We're just naming guys.
Maybe when you come back, Josh, later in the tour, we will have an After Dark on the podcast where we just name guys. That would be fun. Anyway, sorry.
33 countries. None of them had been Eritrea. And Girmay is extraordinary in a couple of ways. He's the first black African to win on the tour. That's 121 years of quite white tour history.
Yep.
And he had been the first black African to win on the Giro as well. And, of course, had that extremely unfortunate celebration where he popped the Prosecco cork and hit him in the eye.
Into his eyeball. Yep.
And he had to quit the Giro the next day.
So what was your headline today?
I'd like to point out I don't write the headlines.
Oh, you don't write the headlines?
I didn't write that headline, but it's a very good headline.
But did you send a note to the person that wrote the headline?
Well, he read the story. The cyclist who uncorked a historic win at the Tour de France.
So when you submit your copy for the day, do you have to give enough hints of where you want the headline to go? Or are they just like the headline guys, so they do it and they have the good ideas?
No, it's a collaborative process. Everyone's on board, and this was admiration for Biniam Girmay.
I mean, it's a fantastic win, right? Literally. I mean, I don't want to sort of we never want to be negative about a race, but we were certainly not overly optimistic
we were waiting
at the
for
available narratives.
Nothing happened
about
for
long. About an hour to go, right? We're sitting there. I mean, you were sitting in the back of the car. We did a lot of driving today, right? We drove 5-6 hours today. Yeah. And we had to go drop Ronan off at the airport, only to have him come right back. And then
he's not back yet.
We're driving around. We're driving. And Johnny's just sitting in the back of the car going, there's still no breakaway. There's still no breakaway.
Just every 20 minutes, I would just say there's still no breakaway. And each time you guys would be like, what?
How?
And Ronan would be like, no attacks. And I was scrolling for a second. So that's No, unless like the guy's falling asleep like in his camper van where he does the updates from, then no.
It took something like over 150k.
It was like 60, I think 60, 70 kilometres. Total Energies finally sent Fabien Grelier up the road, I think, as a sacrificial lamb. But
so you know what that reeked of to me?
That means Prudhomme or someone has phoned them and been like, what are you doing? This is the only reason we have you here. Like, you're not doing anything else at Total Energies.
No, we said we're not being negative about bike races. And so the phone call wasn't that. It was like, don't you want to win the combativity prize? All you have to do is ride by yourself for like 50k.
So it's like when a parent has to negotiate with a child, and
That's
it's like,
that's it.
This thing is really great over here. Yeah, okay.
You get to wear a red number tomorrow, I think.
I mean, you get to go up on the podium. Fun. I mean, it's not that many riders are going to go up on the podium. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good segue because you know who else says that? Movistar. And guess what? They're back in their yellow helmets. I'm pretty sure they're leading the team classification. Shall I just double check quickly?
Tour complete. Tour done. They definitely were this morning.
They were literally beaming, and I was like, why are they so happy? I was like, and then it's because Movistar leading the team's classification by 30 seconds over UAE Team Emirates.
Who's leading the Movistar classification?
That's going to take me just Movistar. A couple seconds longer. Enric Mas is only 21 seconds down.
You can bet someone from Movistar is going to attack Enric Mas.
Javier Romo 1:22 down, and then Alex Aramburu 15 minutes 50 seconds. So
any other thoughts on the sprinters today? I mean, Philipsen not being up there I think was a bit surprising, but again, it was a very chaotic sprint.
Maybe he needs Mathieu van der Poel, who had suffered a mechanical
or something
flat
like that, about 6k out and just never came back. Fernando Gaviria in second. Like this is
that was a throwback.
Yeah, we're throwing back to 2016 at this point.
You know what else is that when they came across the line and Bini had beaten him, like he hasn't come that close to a tour stage win or any sort of major. Did he win a Giro win a couple years ago? Anyway, can't remember. He was immediately congratulating Bini, which I was like, if you are Fernando Gaviria, you've been looking for a win like that for so long. It's amazing how sort of he was able to then just be appreciative of what had happened.
Well, it seems that Bini is universally popular in the peloton, and I thought Cav. We thought for so long today the story would be Cav wins or Cav does not win. Regardless, he was going to be it. And when he was asked about Bini, he said, "I think." Well, there's a quote. Bini is a legend.
Yeah, well, he kind of is.
Yeah.
So, interesting little bit, and this is from German Thiessen as well, that Bini is he's like the Gruppetto cheerleader. Because generally he's in the Gruppetto kind of by choice, right? Because he's actually quite a bit better.
He can do punchier
He's
courses,
a much better climber than most of the sprinters.
He came third in Worlds at Belgium.
Yeah, but there's sort of no purpose in him doing so, right? So he's often back there just kind of hanging out. And so Gerben Thiessen, who again is a unit, in Cavendish yesterday talking about his body type not really being particularly well suited in the tour. Things like that. Cav's not a unit, to be clear, but they're in the same rough area.
Yeah.
But apparently, Girmay, cheers them on. And he comes and he, gives them compliments as they're climbing the hill. And he's like, you can do it. You look fast.
Well, that's what he says, because then Bini was asked in his press conference about Mark Cavendish. And he was like, I just go up to him every time and I just say to him, you are a legend. You're a legend. And then Cavendish is like, I'm your dad. You better not win a sprint instead of me. So it's kind of fun.
I'm so delighted to hear all of this.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Good clubhouse guy.
Yeah, good clubhouse guy. A genuinely nice guy. I've only spoken to him once or twice. I don't know him clearly all that well. But all reports suggest, really humble, really nice, just a, genuinely lovely human being.
One thing he's not good at, breathing and swallowing. Did you see in the press conference today? He, nearly choked on literally nothing. And then there was a while where it went on a bit too long and you're like, this is about to take a turn. I hope
They muted the mic.
Yeah.
It looked like it could be Prosecco Gate all over again.
I was hoping whatever ASO minion was there helping him out with the camera or whatever, knew the Heimlich maneuver, because that would have been really tough.
Oh, my goodness.
Should we eat our pasta and then come back and talk about Richard Carapaz?
And come back and talk about Richard Carapaz.
Great.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We didn't set the scene, so Jonny, we're going to kick off with that. We're in a lovely part of Torino.
So I'm going to set the scene from when the race finished.
Yeah.
Go back to the press room, listen to the press conferences. It's a weird gymnasium with a huge metallic reflective
You could see yourself work.
It wasn't even a gymnasium, was it? Was it more like a concert hall? I couldn't tell.
No, it was Olympic stuff. It's because
I think a basketball team plays
because
there.
Torino hosted the Olympics, and so there's a lot of Olympic infrastructure.
Okay, so we were there. It suddenly started storming, like
massively.
A storm like you see, on TV when they have to make it look like it's raining really heavily outside, and there's just like a guy chucking a bucket at a window. That's what it was like. So I wasn't sure if we were going to be there forever.
The security man had to stay in it.
Yeah, the small little child security man had to stay under like a little tent.
Yep.
We escape. We check into our accommodation, which is called Camp Plus. More than a campus, because not only are there students staying there tonight, there's me and Caley and Ronan when he comes back. We line biked into the middle of Turin,
which is lovely.
We're right in the middle of the old bit of the city. It's sort of like how we eat dinner every night in France. Middle of a big square.
You literally look for a square
dining.
on the map.
Yeah.
You're like, that's
when
a
it's
square.
yellow on Google Maps, that's where you know to head.
Yep.
But the only difference is the food is amazing. Everyone is really nice to us.
And when we
my goodness, look who's here.
Oh, look who's just arrived on a line bike wearing a helmet.
Ronan just rocked up on it.
The shock and awe of the people standing just next to us.
I'm not supposed to be back, but I'm back.
Did you ride a bike from the airport?
Not quite. From the train bus station place.
Well, we're currently setting the scene, so Jonny, why don't you continue to do that?
Ronan's just turned up on a line bike in a helmet with a big backpack on his back and then a bag in the front. The Italian woman next to me, when I said that she reacted in shock and awe, she said not shock. So that means just awe. And we're having a lovely dinner in the middle of Turin. It's lovely. And that was a long way of setting the scene, but thankfully Ronan came along and made it all worthwhile.
Who's the man standing next to us?
I don't know that. Josh obviously knows that.
Josh
is the guy with the...
I went to inspect it. He is a journalist and politician.
Much like Christian Prudhomme.
Much like yourself, I would say.
Big bronze statue. Giovanni Battista Botero.
Yes.
So if he did something horrible, don't
exactly.
drop it in my DMs. I have no idea. Yeah.
We're
talking about politics in sort of the reunification of Italy period, the 1850s and 1860s, which is what made modern Italy.
Right.
Okay.
A set of disparate kingdoms and duchies, and then became one country in 1861. I have no idea which side he was really on.
Either way, it was probably a bit smashy,
on various
wasn't it?
peoples were.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get into it too deeply.
Okay.
All I can say is we're happy that Italy is one country.
That seems like a good idea.
I think we can all agree on that.
Agreed.
Yep.
We have no Duchy of Savoy loyalists here.
Unfortunately not.
Kingdom of Piedmont.
If I did, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. Probably be doing something else.
So that's where we are.
All right, scene adequately set.
Yeah.
I think.
Now should we talk about Richard Carapaz?
Let's talk about Richie Carapaz.
That was fun.
Yeah, hugely fun. So first of all, let's discuss how this happened. Because unless you have read Joe Lindsay's story on the site already, in which case, frankly, I don't know, skip the next 5 minutes. But basically, they're all tied on time. Richard Carapaz, Tadej Pogacar, Remco Evenepoel, and Jonas Vingegaard were all tied on time. And so the only way that you can determine who wears the yellow jersey is essentially like a placings countback.
Yeah.
Or in this place, really a placings
It's like an accumulation,
game. Yeah, it's an accumulation. So basically they add up your place from each stage, and they have a number at the end, right? The sum of that. And whoever's the lowest is the current leader of the Tour de France.
Yeah.
So I believe the numbers were such that Richard Carapaz needed to finish 14 places.
So he needed to finish 14 places ahead of Tadej Pogacar, but only 12 ahead of Remco Evenepoel, who was believed to be maybe the other rider who was vying for the yellow jersey, because that'd be huge for him,
Right.
First go in the yellow jersey. So when we spoke to EF at the end of the stage, Nielsen Paulus was like, we were pretty sure that Remco was going for it. He was the guy we were looking at all day. We knew that Tadej Pogacar wanted to get rid of it. Jonas Vingegaard so wasn't going to fight to overtake it. So we were watching Remco, and he was sort of sniffing around, but then his team had a few problems, like one of their guys crashed.
One of their guys was really beat up. I didn't actually see who.
I can't. Casper Pedersen, I think. I might be wrong, but I think it's him.
No, it was definitely Pedersen because he rode right by me and he was covered in blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then Remco Evenepoel was apparently just on their wheel. But then, after Evenepoel doesn't get the yellow jersey, his post-race quotes are like, I never was interested in that. I just wanted to get home safe.
He would say that.
He would say that, and apparently he didn't do any media this morning. I'm hearing this secondhand, so something's gone on where he's not very happy today. Don't know what it is. But he's also maybe not telling the entire truth after the stage, which, I mean, he doesn't have to.
I mean, basically the numbers come down to at the end of all of this, right? So Richard Carapaz basically gets a lead out, right? Like EF is doing a lead out.
Alberto, huge pull on the front. Like 5 EF riders basically operating as if Richard Carapaz is their sprinter for the day.
It was great.
I
really enjoyed watching that. It was kind of ridiculous.
We also knew it was on when we were walking to the buses, and we walked past Matt Bowden, EF's press officer, one of your friends, Caley, and we were asking him, like, oh, so is this on? Are you guys going for it? And he wouldn't say. Usually he would like just tell us, and he was like, I couldn't possibly say. And we also knew because he doesn't usually go to the finish line.
Yeah,
but that was when we knew.
I mean, we all like Matt a lot. Did he want to be in the photos, maybe, of the yellow jersey?
Well, this is a conspiracy theory because since, as you said earlier, Josh, he caught Thibaut Pinot in the first series of
Gave him
Unchained.
a big hug.
In the second series, we saw him popping up, sitting in riders' chairs on the buses, maybe, just in a shot where he knew they'd be getting the reactions of everyone to.
But also,
to
it was funny because I would love to know how that meeting went this morning. Of like, okay, guys, we don't usually do this. In fact, we haven't done it in years. But today is a sprint lead out, and everyone looking around like, did he say sprint lead out? For who?
Charlie Wagelius was pretty emotional after they pulled it off, actually.
Noted sprinter Richard Carapaz. Yeah,
and he did a good job. 14th.
14th. So, yeah, I guess the cumulative placings at the end of today's stage, we have Richard Carapaz with 46. So he was 22nd, 10th, and then 14th. We have Pogacar with 56, 4th, 14th, 38th. Evenepoel, 8th, 12th, 40th, 60 total. And Vingegaard, 16, 13, 68, 97 total. So Richard Carapaz has the yellow jersey. He, obviously, tomorrow we head up and over the Galibier.
Yeah, he's not sure he's going to try.
Well, I mean, he's a genuine contender for the podium, I would say. And so I think that he probably has a pretty decent chance of hanging on up and over the Galibier. But if not, actually, if they all came in together, then they have to do count back again.
Another stat to follow, the one about Eritrea. Ecuador are now the 26th different country to wear the yellow jersey. So that's fun. 2 sort of historic moments for non-traditional cycling countries in one day. So that was great. The other fun stat that was brought up in the press conference, I can't remember by who, but when Richard Carapaz took pink in the 2022 Giro, it was also in Turin. So that's going to be a great pub quiz question.
Feels like maybe the only pub quiz that's ever going to be asked at is our quiz in the off-season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, all of this is he'll have worn the yellow jersey. He is the defending Olympic champion and won't be at the Paris Olympics.
Yes,
Ecuador gets one spot, and they took
Narvaez.
Yeah.
And he's pissed.
Carapaz?
Yeah.
Today might soften the blow a little bit.
He's real pissed.
I don't think he's pissed tonight.
Probably not. Well, maybe, but maybe a different way.
Magnus Cort is on Uno X now, so remember when with all the bottles when he won the stage with the F and we got in a little bit of trouble?
I do remember that.
Will he be helicoptering tonight?
Possibly.
Taka, 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 taka. Why doesn't he wear a gold helmet, Richard Carapaz? Too humble?
He's just not that kind of guy.
He's got a goldish.
He's just not that kind of guy.
He's got a goldish bike.
Yeah, his bike's kind of goldish.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not flat out gold. It's not like Samuel Sanchez or Greg Van Avermaet.
Yeah.
They went kind of over the top.
It's like a stone effect gold.
Ah, gotcha. Thank God you missed your flight so you could tell us the colour of Richard Carapaz's bike.
I missed my flight. I also had a heck of a ride.
Cancelled.
Yeah, my flight was cancelled actually. Yeah, good point.
Sorry, yeah.
I sat in the airport waiting for 8 hours. There was no chance I was going to miss it.
Sorry,
only for it to be eventually cancelled.
Wrong tenor phrase.
Yeah. And then when I almost didn't get here even when I got the bus into the city centre. That Lime bike was a death ride.
Oh yeah, they're not good.
There was no front brake at all. There was only one brake. And I didn't realise
that. Is that why you had your helmet on?
I had the helmet on because it just started like I had a helmet attached to my bag. I was like, it'd be kind of dumb not to put this on and something to go wrong. But I came around a corner and there was a train that seemed to be crashed into a car. A tram, sorry. And I went for the front brake and there was nothing there. It was almost a 3-way crash.
Okay, but Ronan, are you secretly, despite the sort of annoyance of all your kind of wasted day, are you kind of happy to be back with the fellas?
I'm actually slightly delighted. Yeah.
We were talking about whether this is on purpose, whether there was maybe never a flight to begin with.
Last year, the 2 tours I've done with you, each time, this is how I opened the podcast. I was like, you've found a way to not exactly leave when you're supposed to.
I will say there was definitely a flight. I've actually got Instagram proof of it. because I had to put up my story tonight that this is the third year in a row I've tried to fly to the Eurobike with Lufthansa, and the third year in a row they've cancelled the flight. Actually,
at this point, it's your fault for booking Lufthansa, no?
Probably is actually.
Yeah, but it's like the only thing going to Frankfurt.
Yeah. The first year they overbooked the flight and wouldn't let me on. Last year they cancelled it when I got to Heathrow, so I was stuck on a different island. And this year I've been in Turin Airport for 8 hours waiting for a flight to cancel.
Well, Josh is going back to Germany tomorrow for the Euros, so maybe if you just folded yourself up, you could go in his checked luggage.
I'd probably have a better chance, than
probably.
trying to book Lufthansa again.
Should we move on? Is that everything with the...
That's the bike race. That's pretty much the bike race.
Okay, so that was Block A. That's the racing part. Now we move on to Block B, which is...
Less racing.
Well,
we do have... This is slightly racing related. This is the most prestigious jersey of them all.
Yes.
We have...
You're bringing it back?
For the first time this tour.
Well, first time yesterday. We actually didn't know. A member on Discord...
Pointed it out to us?
Pointed it out.
Who was this?
Yesterday we actually had it. I can't remember.
Who told us?
It was somewhere.
Well, whoever you are, thank you. You're a legend.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We have a Mile Sable.
Yep.
Now...
is this the earliest Mile Sable in history if it happened on Stage 2 of the Tour de France? After Stage 2 of the Tour de France, I should say.
I mean, I don't know any history. I haven't looked back. The history of the Mile Sable is a short book, but we...
Okay.
I think it's certainly it's the earliest since last year.
True.
Yeah.
Fact check, true.
Given that this is the first
Yeah.
awardation, if that's the word, of the Mile Sable for this year, should we be doing a brief description of what exactly the Mile Sable
yes,
is?
good idea. Would you like to, Ronan?
Would we like to describe it wrong, like we usually do?
Brief.
Yes.
Mayo is jersey. Mayo is Jean, the yellow jersey.
Yep.
And Sable is sand. And it stems from way back in the day.
This was Rupert Guinness' invention back when, way back in the day when Rupert and I were making a podcast for some other cycling website. Root, by the way, he's out there somewhere. I hope he's listening. And, we'd love to get Root back in the tour sometime. But that aside, yes, Rupert Guinness invention.
I've never met Rupert Guinness. I'm not sure if he
I met him at
exists.
Torino in Adelaide this year. Great guy.
Exist?
Great guy.
Okay.
Fucking legend. He's the best.
I trust you both.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's awarded to the rider who is closest to an hour, over an hour, but closest to an hour.
Yes.
Behind the leader in GC.
Exactly.
Wait, I thought I was under.
No.
I thought you couldn't go over.
Oh, is it?
See, we get this wrong every year.
If only there was a way to remember.
Surely Pro Cycling Stats has some data on this.
I think it is under.
It's under. You can't go over.
Okay,
it's reverse Price is Right.
Yes, that's what you always say.
The last time you ever asked me to introduce something.
No, because I did the exact same thing last year, and then everybody yelled at me.
It's better to get it wrong.
Because you know who does remember? Our members.
Ah.
Yeah, it's just us that forget.
Okay,
they are the best.
The current Mile Sable is 168th out of 175 riders. This is I'm giving it from stage 2, right? So we're going to have 2 guesses here.
Yep.
57 minutes and 9 seconds.
Ooh.
And in 169th is Davide Ballerini of Astana.
So he's already out.
1 minute and 21. But just to give a frame of reference.
Yep.
So who could it possibly be? Alpecin de Koenig.
I'm seeing it right here, so I can't guess.
Sylvain Dellier. No, he's been quite active near the front toward the end of the stage.
I'll put you out your misery. It's Jonas Rickardt.
Congrats, Jonas.
I could have sat here for another 3 Lufthansa flights and wouldn't have guessed that.
That's congrats for yesterday. Let's check today. I am scrolling down the results sheet.
That's the same today.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Jonas.
Proud of you.
Casper Pedersen broke his collarbone and is still not the Mile Sable, so that's,
So generally the Mile Sable ends up being actually like somewhere near the top 20. Like 17th or 18th or so on the Tour de France.
Balcomolima Prize.
Yeah, it's like it's a classic late stage Balcomolima prize.
Who was it last year?
Well, because early stage Balcomolima prize was like 7th, but no, late stage Balcomolima prize is Mile Sable. And I think this year we're maybe looking at like
Tom Pidcock.
Yeah, we could be looking at a Lawrence de Plus. Or like
surely with a name like de Plus he'll be over the hour.
Could be.
Sorry, I was a bit slow, I got that. Sorry. Yes, that's the Mile Sable. We already talked about Movistar and how they are back at the head of the team's classification. Did you know this, Ronan?
Well, it was me that pointed out this morning. I seen their yellow helmets. It's like, how have they just like sneaked into?
Sorry, I was with you.
I think the ESO. There's something fishy about that. I think the ESO just installs them as best team, just to maintain the team's existence.
It's literally
or
what he wants.
I think we have 2 last things to talk about here. One, today, Ronan, it was your last morning on the race in theory, and so you spent some time bopping around the paddock, and you spotted some stuff on Mark Cavendish, and specifically some sort of like some sprinting marginal gains, which are basically aero marginal gains, really. Talk about that in a second as well. We also want to preview tomorrow's stage, the Libya stage. Massive, massive day. Let's start with Cav. What did you notice? He had some stuff going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the speeds they're sprinting at for Tour de France stage ones these days, that's probably where aero is most important. And it's not something we've seen. I mean, Cav hasn't exactly been anti-aero, but it's not something we've seen him gone all out on before. He certainly is going all out this year, though. He has some sort of partial shoe covers covering the BOA dials on his not-so-Nike DMT shoes. Mm-hmm. Well, we think they're DMTs. They're definitely not Nike because Nike don't make
probably DMTs.
Shoes.
They usually are.
They sort of reminded me of the cover that used to come supplied with the S-Works Sub 6 shoes about 8 years ago, a little sort of leather thing that went over the laces just for like a more aero setup. These are much more. I didn't get to feel them, unfortunately. I didn't get to rub Mark's feet this morning, but they seem like they seem like an aero sock over his shoes. Not sure if it's exactly the same material or not, but that just to give you an idea of what this looked like. Is
it an actual product, or did they just like cut up a pair of?
It looked more thought out than just cutting up a pair of socks. It seemed to be like there was an actual seam to each end of them, and also it was definitely something they had considered. Mark's actually had the Nike logo on them, so it's not something that happened overnight, but it is something that today is the first time we've seen it. He also had new aero socks. They sort of look like Swiss side, but JP Ballard has told me that he had nothing to do with anything that happened in Astana. So,
I mean, unless he went and bought them.
Yeah, he could have bought them. Well, they say Astana and they're marked up as BMA, but I don't believe they're actually BMA socks. He also has a new suit, and from what I hear from Cycling Spy on Instagram, he might actually have a few different suits to choose from depending on what speed they think they're going to be sprinting at, what temperature the stages are. So we have a few more Cavendish hacks to look out for. And then finally on his bike, he had on the 60mm deep vision Metrons, but better than that, he had Elite Chrono CX time trial aero bottles on his bike, which are not, the bottle cages for those bottles are not compatible with round bottles at all. They're only compatible with these
right,
aero
which is
bottles.
an important point, because so the new Trek that was just launched right before the race, that comes with the aero bottle, but you can also stick a regular bottle in that cage, and so
not as neatly as you can with the Cannondale version of those bottles that came out about 18 months ago.
But you still can.
You still can.
Which means if you're just like, I just need a bottle, what do they say? They're going through 16, 17 bottles on a day like yesterday when it's really hot. A lot easier versus, I mean, Cav has to go back and get this.
Well, somebody has to go and get them for him, and they have to get, give me Mark's bottles, and then they have to carry those 2 bottles specifically to Mark, rather than just give me 10 bottles and handing them out.
I bet Mark loves that, though. Why are we calling him Mark? He's never been Mark.
Yeah.
Cav. The Manx missile.
Anyway, what was also kind of funny was that
Ronan, you have to refer to him as the Manx missile.
As you did in your piece today.
Yep.
Yeah.
For the
Sir
rest,
Mark, actually. Sir Mark.
Sir Mark, the Manx missile.
He's not Sir yet. He hasn't been
I thought
sorted.
He has. No, I think he's been sorted.
No, he hasn't been sorted.
He hasn't been sorted yet. It takes ages. Pigcock took like 2 years.
He is kind of
really?
sorted, but he hasn't been sorted
in a
yet.
suit.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. Who do we think?
An extra hard iron it.
Who do we think gets the bottles? Do we think? I think Evgeny Fedorov is bottle guy.
Big bottle energy.
Yeah, big.
That should be an award we give out.
Big bottle energy.
Yeah.
There
All
are
right.
there are
One
whole
last point
teams
on
of
the
guys
bottles.
who are just big bottle
We
energy.
just invented a
Total
new
energies.
award.
Okay, can I? No, sorry. Were you done with the toast?
No, one last thing on the
Okay.
bottles before we get derailed here.
We have some nonsense to talk about.
They were elite bottles, but Tax sponsor Astana. So they had stuck Tax stickers onto the cages and the bottles to make them look like Tax bottles, which means they went out and bought these elite aero bottles and didn't go out and buy either the Trek or the Cannondale ones, which would have been compatible with round bottles, which...
Shocking.
Yeah, I don't know, it just seems to me like it would have made much more sense. Maybe they didn't know they existed or whatever, but...
Or they just went to a bike shop and 3 days before the Tour de France were
or last night. There was an air of 2020 Ronan doing Everesting stuff about Mark's. I called him Mark again, about Cavendish's aero hacks
Sir
today.
Mark Cavendish, the Manx missile.
I think using aero bottles should mean that your knighthood gets rescinded. If you get found for doing dodgy tax stuff after you get your knighthood, you have to give it back. Aero bottles should mean you have to give it back.
So, who did have big bottle energy today?
You have Jenny. Oh, I don't know. We didn't get to watch any of the race. We're in the car for hours,
That's
and
true.
then at no point.
Boo! Somebody else in the airport for 8 hours.
Did you watch it? Well, who had bottle energy then?
What's the final 5K?
You what?
What's the final 5 kilometers?
Yeah, it was that sort of day, to be honest.
Yeah.
Good fun
Wait,
5K.
should the Big Bottle Energy Award be named for Tom's? Famously viral because
Yeah.
of bottles?
He could be,
I think,
editor at large of the Big Bottle Energy Quarterly.
I like that.
Whoever sat on the front for the majority of today's Boar Fest should get Big Bottle Energy
who
for
was
today.
it? I do remember seeing a couple names.
It
There
was-
was a Little Trek guy. There was an Alpecin guy.
Alpecin.
Tim de Klerk was he even here?
Sylvan
Yeah,
Dillier
he
was on the
is.
front for a long time.
Yeah, him, I think.
Yeah.
Just sit up there, do
We'll figure
350
this out.
watts for like 4 hours. Yeah.
Dillier, it's Perrier's energy bottle.
Did you want to talk about the Glibier tomorrow?
I did. So, tomorrow, Pinarolo to Valois, 140K. It's not particularly long. We go over the category to Sestriere. So, kind of the chiller side of the Sestriere, basically. And then they drop down the other side, which is the side that, like Lance era, they went up Sestriere all the time, I feel like. Then we go over the Col de Montgenèvre, which is a little Cat 2. And then we drop, and then we go through the valley, and so we're going up the very, very long approach to the Col de
23K?
Glibier. So technically, it is only 32 kilometers at 5.1%, but they actually climb through the valley for like 20K before that.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually basically a 50-kilometer climb. Now, the actual climb, they look at the last. Well, the profile of it is only the last 22K, 23K. The top of it is the nastiest part. Top of it is it's a kilometer at 9%. It has other kilometers that are sort of sit in the 9, 8 kind of range. Nothing horrible on this side. Often it's a headwind all the way up this side of the climb. So I don't think it's going to be like the end of the Tour de France. Watch me be wrong now. But in theory, it's such a long approach. It's, again, usually a headwind. It's not the steeper side. I can't imagine that we see... Well, first of all, I definitely can't imagine that Pogacar and Vingegaard can get rid of each other tomorrow. I could see them getting rid of everybody else because they seem to be able to do that kind of on a whim. But then they drop down the sort of steeper side, the more technical side of the Glibier, and they drop down to Valois, which is the little town that sits in between the Glibier and the Telegraph. And that descent is very, very technical. So if you have somebody like Tom Pidcock, for example, who can descend like a madman, and if he can get over the top of the Glibier with the group, I'm sure he is thinking about this tonight. He's thinking, if I can do that, I can descend down the back of the thing and I can win this stage.
Well, he's currently only 21 seconds down on GC alongside Carlos Rodriguez and Egan Bernal. So if he gets over the top with that group, that's probably a gap he could take out if he's willing to take risks others on.
Yeah. Well, and he's definitely going to be willing to take risks, right? And the other two probably aren't, right? Like they'll go down fast, but they won't be taking the kind of risks that Pidcock will. So, yeah, I guess that's what kind of my prediction for tomorrow is that one of the guys who can descend quite well but can get over the top, at least close to that front group, I think it'll be one of them. So Pidcock is a good guess. We saw Carlos Rodriguez going like a bat out of hell last year on the way down. So it could be either one of those Ineos fellas. Quite a few options.
I think tomorrow's a breakaway day.
Could be, yeah. Unless...
Same as Bardet, DSM sort of approach. Carapaz and that will want as much of the impetus to race removed as possible. And if the stage one is gone, it's just one less opportunity for Carapaz to be dropped and lose the jersey.
And there are bonus seconds at the top of the Glibier as well as at the finish line. So Carapaz is going to be pretty keen to make sure that those are soaked up by a breakaway.
Exactly.
So I think that, in terms of stage winner, pretty good shot there. I think if you do have a GC group, if for whatever reason, Visma decides to ride, which sometimes they do randomly, I think you're looking at the better descenders out of the GC
They
group.
might ride to put the pressure back onto Pogacar, put him back in the jersey.
Yeah.
What do you make?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is when's the first time trial? Not for another few days?
Friday.
So you've got a few days where we could get more of a cycle of different yellow jerseys, which we haven't had for a couple of years, right? Because it's just gone straight to the big guys.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's more fun when more people get the jersey.
So there you go. Make your picks.
Previewed.
You could see a slow sprint for the finish line tomorrow as neither Pogacar or Vingegaard wants to take the jersey. Both sprinting with their brakes on.
I mean, could we see Red Bull try something? Are they desperate yet?
I don't think they'll be desperate yet. I think they're probably waiting to see just how Roglic is on Galibier tomorrow. I think they're probably still confident in him, but probably deep down they're wondering.
They're all 21 seconds behind Hindley, Vlasov and Roglic, so 21 seconds isn't too much.
Yeah, I think the concern with Roglic yesterday on San Luca was just that he was dropped a little bit, but it sounds like that might have just been a positioning issue. Yeah. Like there was just a sort of a split in the peloton. That we're sort of learning more about that as we hear about it from riders, because we just didn't get great footage of it because they were just focused on the front of either the front of the peloton or the breakaway. Anyway.
That's what happens when you got a French guy about to win the stage.
Yep.
Less coverage of the rest of the race.
Yes. Anyway, before we make our fantasy picks, and you should go head over to escapecollective.com/fantasy. It's not too late to sign up. Yes, you did. You will essentially miss the first two stages at this point.
Where are you?
But you'll get an auto pick. You get an auto pick, and the auto pick is just like a highly ranked UCI rider, so it may actually work out all right for you.
If you did pick the winner, then you should definitely sign up.
You should definitely,
because obviously you're gifted at this.
Absolutely.
And if you didn't, you haven't really missed out.
Head on over, sign up now. We'll make our picks when we come right back. But first, we're going to head over to Jose Bain. She's got a bit of Henri de Grange, facts and figures for us. We're going to look at some of the rules the founder of the Tour de France came up with. Let's hear from Jose.
Straight into the high mountains on day 4. It would have pleased the man who created this event immensely, because Henri de Grange was known for being a bit of a bully or even sadist. He created the Tour de France in 1903 to boost sales of his newspaper, L'Auto, which, yes, is French for car. The stages were long and arduous, but the rules de Grange implemented were even harsher. He would probably look at modern-day riders as being almost lazy. Some of his rules were as follows. You had to start the stage that was hundreds of kilometers long in the same kit. That meant that if you dressed up warmly, because the start was in the middle of the night, you were not allowed to take off that warm jumper in the morning as the sun started to shine. Henri Pélissier, the winner of the 1923 race, left the race the year after his win for the sole reason de Grange forbade him to take off his sweater. 4 years prior, he already received a 2-minute penalty for having left a spare inner tube at the side of the road. Well, they weren't exactly best buddies, and de Grange wrote in his own paper that Pélissier lacked character. The Tour de France de Grange created was designed to give up. He wanted the 1903 event to only have one finisher. Some of the rules from an article are by Peter Abraham in 2021. De Grange banned outside assistance, spare equipment unless riders carried it from the start. He banned drinking more than an allotted amount of fluids. He banned putting on or taking off clothes unless riders carried them for the entire stage. And if riders or teams found ways to contravene his rules to tackle the race in a way that he didn't really endorse, he would just make up some more rules. End quote. Well, that sounds like an absolutely pleasant guy. And when the riders were sent up the Tourmalet for the first time in 1910, I told you that story last year, Octave Lapise shouted, "Vous êtes des assassins. You are murderers." Henri de Grange is always remembered as the founder of the Tour de France, but it was his young journalist Lefebvre's idea to create a Tour de France with long-distance races like the 12-year-old Paris-Roubaix. De Grange himself wasn't thrilled, but the public loved it, and the sale of his paper skyrocketed. Now, today we pass the Col du Galibier and the Souvenir Henri de Grange, which is a little monument on top of the mountain. The first rider gets a premium, and in 22, this premium went to Cofidis rider Anthony Perez. The first rider to ever reach the top of Galibier in Tour de France history was Émile Gorchet in 1911, and according to one source, he was one of only 3 riders who didn't have to walk. In 2011, the peloton did the Galibier twice to commemorate this 100-year anniversary. It was the first and only time the finish was on the mountain itself, and Andy Schleck won that stage after a 60-kilometer solo. Or there was that time when Marco Pantani attacked 59 kilometers from the line in the rain over the Galibier, won the stage, took 9 minutes on yellow jersey Jan Ulrich. And the Galibier has so many of these heroic stories of both winners and basically everyone else in the peloton. So let's see which legends will be written on stage 4.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks, Jose. All right, last thing for today's stage, fantasy picks for tomorrow. We got to pick one rider. And again, you cannot use the same rider twice. So if you hear us make some weird picks later in the race, that would be why.
I've used up so many good guys already.
Johnny's already used Pogacar.
Evenepoel, Philipsen. But I was 15th overall in the whole thing yesterday, and now I'm back down to 615th. I enjoyed my one day in the sun.
You're way up there.
You're one day in yellow.
I had
Bardet.
If yellow was given to 15th, yeah.
Friend of mine, Smoot. Smoot was, I think you finished in the top 15 of the Giro. Yeah, it's possible to be up there. He's got to be a genius.
I'm top of this staff, Escape Collective staff league, which
Yeah.
I think means that then I get the IP rights to how the race was won, because obviously I know best.
Seems right.
Yeah.
Seems right. So, all right, so fantasy picks for tomorrow. I think you have to consider not just who is a good match for the stage, but also the sort of the varying motivations of various teams in the race and what the teams may want to do, in particular the teams, of the yellow jersey, right? So what we were talking about right before we went to Jose's segment was, does EF want a breakaway to survive?
My pick, I've just checked on GC, he's 2 minutes 31 down, but I think he's probably not a risk going forward. I'm going to be patriotic after the huge Euros win yesterday, and I'm going for Oscar Onley. I think DSM riding a bit of a high. He's broken his collarbone like 3 times in 8 months, but it's healed, and the cut's really horrible. So
just got noticed that Casper Pedersen dropped out.
Not surprising, really.
Yeah, he looked pretty rough at the finish line. Sorry, that was just random, but it just popped up on my laptop.
There you go. Breaking news.
Breaking, probably not really, but not by the time anyone's listening to this.
Breaking news at the time of recording.
Breaking news to us. Yeah.
Okay. What about everyone else? Josh, any ideas?
All right, good climber, excellent descender. As long as no one has any follow-up questions, I'm going to take Vincenzo Nibali.
Yep, allowed.
Cool, good guess. Ronan?
Ronan is furiously scanning because there's nothing he likes more than trying to win these games we play.
I'm going to go for Warren Barguil.
Wawa. The king of France.
Wawa power.
Would make sense. We are going back into France.
Yeah.
I love it.
Arkea on a high.
They are on a high, yeah.
2 stage wins.
2?
They won yesterday. You're going to win tomorrow again.
Oh, I see.
1 stage 1.
quick aside that we missed out on earlier. Intermarché, I saw in a ring post, they started out as just like a cycling club in the 1970s and now have made it all the way to winning a stage of the Tour de France, which makes it similar to like if your pub team in England went to win the FA Cup, which I think is great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Also,
cool.
I like the Barguil pick. Sort of evokes memories of, was it 2017? The sort of summer of Wawa and Michael Matthews sharing a room and also having the polka dots and the green jersey.
Oh, really? Was it? Oh, great. Was that 2017?
Was it 17, 18?
Good old summer of Wawa.
16? No, it wasn't. Michael won it in 2016.
I got one for you.
Go on.
Geraint Thomas.
Okay.
I don't think
he hasn't lost time yet, has he?
No, he has. He's already 4:24 back.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the only thing that keeps me from maybe going with him, and I haven't fully decided yet, is that he may be on, like if they decide to keep it close to try to get Pidcock a wing, like if Pidcock's feeling great, does he get sort of left on Pidcock duty, right? But we'll see.
I'm just sad he's not going to be more third than ever this tour if he's only lost 5 minutes.
No, I mean, at the moment...
Sad. Never meet your heroes.
Well, maybe he's not going to lose any more time.
He's very 43rd now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost as good a story.
Almost his age.
Almost.
Oof.
Anything else for the day?
I think that's it from us today.
Before we head to After Dark, should we say ciao to... we tried to say ciao to Ronan earlier, so let's try someone else in the group. Josh Robinson, you're headed back to
the Euros
to watch The Manshaft.
I am.
Many Manshafts, actually.
And Les Bleus, who made it through today. Your brave 3 Lions.
So brave.
So brave.
So brave. What vital work they do.
Yeah, I'm off to Germany, but it has been a pleasure, and I'll be back
right now. I can tell you, don't bother.
If I'm allowed. If you'll have me, I'll be back
absolutely.
week 3 in Gruissan.
Gruissan.
Our favorite word to say.
I'm so excited. I'm getting similar vibes of when we went to Thrill Ho last year. It's just this place is going to delight and disappoint in equal measures.
Yeah, I mean, Gruissan it has a beach,
Have you been
apparently.
there?
No.
Oh.
I looked it up.
Okay. Forgot you could do that.
Wait, is this second rest day?
Second rest day.
Beach vibes.
Yep.
I'm excited to.
Is it on the
come
coast or
back.
is it like a lake
It's in the
beach?
south.
Or
It's in the
No,
south.
it's down in mid.
Love it.
Yeah.
Come
We're gonna
back
be
and find
so
you all
boiling hot.
thoroughly cracked.
Oh, yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
just...
But it's okay.
Great.
It's okay. I'm a good clubhouse guy,
Yeah.
like Biniam Girmay.
Yeah.
Gonna perk you all right back up.
Thanks for joining us, Josh. Yeah, and now we're going to head off into Escape After Dark. Of course, this is our members-only section of the podcast. If you listen to the free bit, you don't get it. If you're listening to the member bit, keep hanging out. Make sure you head to escapecollective.com/TDF. You can sign up this month for $1, £1, €1, whatever
One
you
gold
are.
coin.
One gold coin.
We've-
Whatever you want to do.
We've got rid of exchange rates.
Should we put it in the normal show or put it after dark that I had Biniam Girmay in my draft team?
No, that's After Dark stuff.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're just
I'll
asking
just
if
put
you,
it- I'll
when
just
you
put it
can
in both.
boast.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow from the Glivier. That's right. We're going to drive it. All right. We'll see you then.